Today we're going to talk about one of the first resources that we were ever given, and that is the resource of light. If you have ever read the book of Genesis, you know that at the very beginning, God, the first thing that he said in the book is, "Let there be light." And there was light. And so light is one of those initial resources that we were given that contributes greatly to our health. And I want to talk about that and explore it a little bit today. I apologize in advance for my camera because I'm out in the light and it's so bright out here that my camera is doing weird things to try to compensate for it. But I kind of love that because in talking about light, it is a little bit of a different resource, and we get to see that even in the way technology has to compensate for it. Some of the benefits of light to us as a resource: it provides our bodies with vitamin D. If you know anything about the health field in our culture, there's a shortage in most adults of vitamin D. Most of us are not getting enough of it, and it's because we are not getting enough light. We are not getting outside enough in the light. And when we do go out in the light, many times we lather up with sunscreen, right? And we're going to talk about that in a minute because I know there's negative effects of light as well, or the sun, with skin cancer and all of those things. So we do want to be rational about this and intelligent with it, but we also need to make sure that we're getting enough light to provide for our health. Light also helps regulate our sleep patterns. Our circadian rhythm is regulated if we get enough light into our eyes during the day. This is because our bodies were created to live in the rhythm of nature. And we talked about in the last lesson how that is just part of our design. Before there was electricity, people had to live by the daylight. So they would wake up and many times they woke up even before it got to be light, but they lived by the light, right? At the end of the day, when the sun went down, they had to also calm their bodies and relax their bodies and do something that they could do by candlelight, which, is usually not a lot of things. So before electricity, sleep was not as much of an issue as we see in our culture because people worked hard with their bodies all day long. And then when it was night, they were ready for sleep and their bodies were regulated because they were living by the cycle, kind of like the birds do. Birds will start chirping right before the break of dawn, and then they kind of quiet down as sunset happens. And so that was kind of the rhythm. Light elevates your mood. If you've ever been through several cloudy days in a row, there's a point where you're just like, I just need to see the sun. Most of us, there's a point where we're just like, give me the sun. And so in states like Washington State, I used to live in Washington State. I was born there, and in Seattle and in that area, you hear a lot about the depression rates because there's less light. It's very cloudy there most of the time. The majority of the time it's cloudy. And so light is a scarce resource, and because systems don't get as much of it, that natural sunlight, it affects the moods. Also increases your energy. When you wake up in the morning and you get light into your eyes, we're going to talk about that in just a second. You are more likely to, feel a little bit more ready for your day. It gives vision, right? Like that's an obvious one. In the dark, we can't see. We turn on the light, we can see. And so in many ways, metaphorically and literally, it gives us vision. Let's talk about first thing in the morning. A great thing for your circadian rhythms and to get better sleep is to, within 20 to 30 minutes of waking up, get light into your eyes, get sunlight into your eyes, some sort of natural light into your eyes. And so this is why we form routines where, we wake up and pull back the curtains. Don't leave your house dark in the morning. Get that sunlight. Even if the sun is not out, just getting that natural light into your eyes within 20 to 30 minutes of waking up is so good for regulating your circadian rhythms. Your brain starts to take on a pattern and you start to live in a rhythm of the sun's up, it's time to get active. And then, we'll talk in a minute about how to gradually shift to nighttime, because, the dark was made for our bodies to calm and to sleep and to rest and rejuvenate. And so one of the great things to do in that regard with rhythm is to watch a sunrise or a sunset. So depending on if you're an early riser or if you're a night owl, you can usually catch one or the other, as long as you have some space to kind of see into the distance and see the sunrise or the sunset, or go somewhere. This is something we do a lot on vacation, right? We go watch the sunrise or we watch the sunset, and we enjoy it in whatever location we're at. But the truth is, we need this on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, to regulate the rhythms of our body. I talk about mindfulness when we are talking about light, because there's so much beauty to light, the way that it shines through the trees, the feel of the warmth on your skin, the sounds that you can hear when right now it's very sunny and the birds are just happy. It's just, everything sounds chipper and, upbeat. This morning when I was driving my daughter to school, there was light shining down through the trees, the first early morning sunlight. And it does that thing where you can see the rays of light coming through and shining onto the ground. And it was just so beautiful, like almost breathtaking when you really pay attention to it. And, add some mindfulness into observing light. Sunscreen. We definitely need it. We also need times where, short period of times where we let the light actually into our skin. That's what gives us the vitamin D. And so, I recommend taking sunscreen with you to places. If you're going to be outside in the light, let your body have about 10 to 15 minutes free of sunscreen to let that light in. Now, I know some people are very, very fair skinned, and within 15 minutes you're burnt. So find your time period that you can allow your skin to be exposed to the light without it burning you or being detrimental to your health, and let your skin absorb some of that light and that vitamin D that we get naturally from the sun. There are many ways to get natural light nowadays in our technological world. And so there's things, light therapy. I've seen light therapy for your face, light therapy for, anxiety and depression, seasonal depression. That's a big thing. We don't always have access to the sunlight, right? We don't control that. We don't control when it's cloudy or, the season that we're in, the winter. There's less light just because of the way that the sun comes up and goes down. There's less light in those winter days a lot of times, depending on where we live. And so we want to make sure that we are getting some natural light. So if you live in a place where you don't get a lot of sun, it might be good to research, like they have now lamps that mimic the sun, that can give you that natural light that's so good for your body and so good for your mood. And you may want to look into that to see how that could be helpful to add to your home or your office or wherever you spend the majority of your time. That can be really helpful to get you that natural light that our body needs and that is so healthy for us. We want to do at night when it's, when the sun's starting to go down. We've talked about nighttime routines and some of the other lessons. We want to gradually shift into the darkness, right? We don't want to just be fully in the light and then boom, we're in the dark and we're going to sleep. That is not how our rhythms work. We need time and space, enough time and space to kind of make that a gradual, have a routine getting into our day. We also need that at night, have a routine getting into our night. And so we want to gradually shift out of the light, just like the sun gradually comes down and you have less and less and less and less light. We want to do that in our homes as well. And so one of the things that might be helpful for that is dimmers on your lights in your home. This has been really helpful for me to start the bedtime routine, not just for myself, but it signals also to my family when I start turning the lights down or dimming the lights. I have a dimmer switch on the lamp in my bedroom. And so, sometimes I'll do light reading at night, and I'll just dim the lights to where they're enough that I can see, but not enough that it's like, oh, we're doing stuff. And then, as the night goes on, I'll dim it to different levels of light. So in the description, I'll leave some links to things that have been helpful for this for me to be able to have more control over the levels of lighting. I even found like a remote control lights. So I have string lights in my bedroom, and I have string lights outside by our pool, and I can control those with a remote, so I can turn them on and off. So I'll turn them on at night for a little while, and then I'm able to turn them off with the remote, because I feel like those string lights just do something in your brain that makes everything seem, calm and happy, and they just, give you a good feeling before you go to sleep. Blackout curtains, I fully recommend these because they can be shut at night, and you can have, darkness. You can control the lighting in your house. And then when it's morning, and it's time to open the curtains, there's a little bit more of a dramatic effect of, it's been nighttime, it's been dark, and now it's time to wake up. Therapy light, we talked about this a little bit earlier. If you live in a location that does not get sunlight for some reason or another often, or you just want to have that natural light available to you all the time, it might be a good idea to look into therapy lights. I haven't done a lot of research on red light therapy, but I've heard that's another good light, I guess, color that can help with mood and elevate mood. And so that may be something else to research. I do also know that blue light, when we talk about blue light, which is what comes through our phones and our screens, TV screens, that blue light can be detrimental to, our sleep chemicals. And so we talk about, getting some blue light glasses. That may be another thing that you look into, and I can put some links in the description as well, because I've tried several different pairs of blue light glasses, and they also have blue light glasses now that are reading glasses. So if you need that extra magnification at night for reading, they do both those things at the same time. So the glories of technology. Anyway, light is a great resource to use, and I wanted to mention it specifically in this module on nature because I think it's very powerful and it can be very helpful in different ways, especially if you're struggling with things like mood or sleep. If you can get those rhythms of light into your body and follow more closely the rhythms that God has created and designed for the body to live by, those things will improve automatically.